Hey, I want to thank everybody for tuning into a special edition Steelers pre-snap. I'm Luther Dupree. I got my partner, Smokin Jim, Claudio Rosano. Thanks for tuning in, Jim. Let it get started right now. What were your thoughts last week? You had the Browns winning against our third team. What are your thoughts about the game? Any reflections that you think will help us for today's game?
Yeah, I got some reflections. Hey, listen, this is all related, man. Listen, last night Aaron Donald was a beast in the first half, man. I mean, Troy Aikman said he was the greatest to ever play the defensive line, better than Reggie
Mm,
White and Jerome Brown. This is a guy, Troy Aikman, that got sacked 11 times. You get sacked 11 times in one game, you ain't got no heart. And Troy Aikman was so scared of Philadelphia for him to
wow.
say that. The LA Rams is on the West Coast. I hope this TJ Watt, it ain't a West Coast, East Coast again, all over again, man. Both guys deserve it. I hope TJ Watt, man, gets it, but I don't want Suge Knight to get involved. Hey, listen, um, you see, I got my orange on.
Mm,
Uh-oh,
Listen,
uh-oh.
it last week reminded me when Coach Mike Tomlin, who's the assistant head coach to Big Ben, said after the Baltimore game that the Pittsburgh Steelers suck. When the Ravens had 30 people off for COVID. Hey, don't let last week's there wasn't no JV game. That's a football game. That's AFC North football. It's the changing of the guard. Baker Mayfield, one of the top five quarterbacks in the NFL already, and climbing. Last week Baker Mayfield did what he had to do. He's a leader. He won the football game. I was proud of the way the Pittsburgh Steelers fought and fought and fought. You know what I mean? So that's my reflection on the game last week. It had nothing to do with no JV. It's the same way Pittsburgh Steelers beat Baltimore. They still beat a NFL team. I don't care about how many players was out with COVID.
okay. All right. We see Jim was smoking earlier and drinking something funny in that cup. Carly, how about your thoughts? What you think
Some,
about the game?
some things that stood out was, first of all, Mason Rudolph had a nice game. I thought he would. And he played with confidence. He stood in that pocket, showed some heart, and he threw some nice passes. Highsmith had a nice game. I'm glad that he broke out a little bit. And people have been asking about him, and he did well. And like Jim said, it's not a JV game, so he didn't go up against fourth and fifth stringers. He went up against an NFL team. He shows that he has some ability. Claypool can go deep. Use him. Okay, he's a stud and a half. He should be targeted more without question. Now, the other thing that stood out to me, Cleveland had everything to play for. I said at the beginning of the show last week, Jim Valvano used to say, you never want to play a team with a cause. Cleveland had a cause. If they lose, they're out. They win, they're in. Simple. Pittsburgh really didn't have much to play for. They sat out Ben, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, so on and so forth. The game should have been a wider gap. Okay, it's just like telling a boxer, Muhammad Ali, don't use your jab, just use your right hand. Well, the opponent should probably beat the hell out of him. Okay, Cleveland should have scored more and won by more points, in my opinion. A win's a win. They're in the playoffs. That's great. But Pittsburgh played a lot of focus. They played a lot of heart. I think that's one of the games, maybe the second time this year that they played, even though they lost, they pretty much were consistent the entire game. The other game that they were consistent all season long was against Cleveland when they blew them out. But to me, that shows, and I think Pittsburgh is going to think, hey, we lost to them by 2 points without our top guys. Imagine what we can do with our top guys. So that's what I took from the game.
Yeah, one thing I like about the game, and you mentioned one of it, Highsmith finally, it seemed like he was getting, and I like the spin moves he was using. He was putting a lot of pressure on Baker Mayfield. We know Baker Mayfield can't handle pressure. When he does, he usually starts throwing picks. So I like that. TJ Watt will be back. The running game did look a little better last week against the Browns, and they played all their starters. So that bodes well. I've been saying it all year. You have to give Claypool at least 6 targets. And one thing we did see, Deontay Johnson got a normal number of targets from Mason Rudolph. He didn't get the 13 or 15 that he usually gets from Ben. So I was happy to see the ball was spread around. I hope that continues. So that was pretty good. Let's get started as far as Claudio. What do you think about our Steelers D? And first, we got to get our buddy Terry French. We did way better than I thought we do last week. Almost won. Definitely agree with that. What are your thoughts? Our D versus the Browns offense this week. We get 3 starters back. Spillane is back. TJ's going to play. What are your thoughts?
I think it's pretty simple, and it's something that we've repeated over and over. You stop the Cleveland running game, which is damn good. They are 3rd in the NFL in rushing. Okay. But if you stop the Cleveland running game, that makes what? Baker Mayfield have to be, as I said before, as Reggie Jackson used to say, the straw that stirs the drink. I don't know if that is going to be a good recipe formula for Cleveland to win. Mayfield's a nice player. He's effective. He's dangerous, but he has to have a running game. A guy like Dan Marino didn't need a running game. Joe Montana didn't need a running game. John Elway didn't need a running game. Maybe to win the Super Bowl he did. Ben Roethlisberger obviously doesn't need a running game, but Baker Mayfield does. And when you have 2 studs like Chubbs and Hunt in the backfield and Baker Mayfield running the ball, that's going to present a problem. But Steelers definitely have to focus on stopping the run. They do that. I think they're in good shape. I think Spillane coming back is going to help the run. I'm confident. And TJ Watt is rested. Cam Hayward needed a rest. He got one. I think they're both going to have a little more bounce in their step, and I think that's good for the Steelers defense, obviously.
Okay. All right. Smoker Jim, your thoughts?
Man, come on, man. It's a mismatch. Listen, Baker Mayfield, shake and bake Baker Mayfield, best player in Cleveland history since Jimmy Brown, top 5 quarterback in this league. Nick Chubb, 2nd best running back in the National Football League, unstoppable guy. Somebody who might be better than Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. can catch, run. He can do it all out of the backfield, man. Gives a great breather. Hey, listen, Landry at wide receiver, big hands, outstanding, unstoppable. David Njoku, outstanding tight end. And and let's give a white guy a little credit, Austin Hopper. He's a go-to guy, smart kid. Out of Stanford, real good hands. Can't jump. But hey, Cleveland Browns.
Get all the stereotypes in, Jim.
Huh?
Get all the stereotypes you can in, Jim.
Yeah. So right there, and then Cleveland is unstoppable on offense. They're not catching the bus in; they're catching the airplane in today because they're going to be on flight all game long. So,
wow. Well, I disagree, man. Of course, I look at our defense. Last week we held them in check, 24-22. Earlier on, the running game was really giving them problems, but they get 2 guys back this week. I think we'll be able to stop it and force Baker. Come on, Jim. What are you talking about? He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Baker, when he's forced to pass or win a game, as we saw a couple weeks ago, he throws picks or he fumbles with the game on the line. Look for Baker once again to have a key turnover. Last week, he hurt us with some scrambles. This week, with our starters back, we're going to put pressure on them, focus on Chubb and Hunt. You know, they may have 85, 90 yards. But once the game is in Baker's, I don't trust him. His receiving core is solid. Even they've been better ever since they lost O.J. Beckham Jr., but I don't think Baker can get it done in this game. Last week, he had a solid game. I think he comes back and gives us another pick. Historically, Ben always does well against these teams, but defensively, look for Watt to really stake his claim as the defensive player of the year. Donald was a monster, just like the rest of that Seattle defense last week. And I think TJ saw that, and he's going to really make a couple big plays, couple sacks, maybe a forced fumble. And I think Highsmith is going to continue to progress, and we're going to need it from this point going forward. All right, but Jim, let's.
One question, Luther. One question, Mr. Butterworth. How much money? How much money did you put on the Steelers tonight? How much you put on the Steelers? Or are you just flopping your pancakes? You
as
just
much
flopping
as,
your
as
pancakes,
much
my
as I could put on there. Listen, they've dominated the Cleveland Browns historically with Ben here. I think he's only lost once or twice. He's not going to lose to these bums in the playoffs. Come on, Miles Garrett is hurt.
Sitting on your wallet, I see. Sitting on your wallet, I see.
Hey, all I know is the Steelers games. I'm doing a little better than you this year, Smokin' Jim.
That's true. That's true.
So we could go. Why don't you talk about our offense versus the Steelers? About the Steelers offense versus Browns D. What are your thoughts?
Well, I tell you what, Cleveland Browns defense is very, very, very overrated. They're not that good. Denzel Ward is an outstanding cornerback. He got a lot of speed. You know, he's 5'11". I think Ronnie Harrison, who's below average, one of the worst ever coming out of Alabama, this side of Mika Fitzpatrick. But he's 6'3",
You mean
200.
Yeah, right. You mean all pro?
Yeah, this is
all pro. Minka Fitzpatrick.
Mika Fitzpatrick is all pro out of 8 games. The other 8 he's invisible, but that's okay. That's okay. And I wish we had that Adams kid from Seattle. I like a hitter like that. But
you can't
anyhow,
cover anything. You can't cover anything. He's a glorified. He's a linebacker playing safety and can't cover anybody.
And ask Wolford, the quarterback, who went to visit the same planet as Derek White. Ask him. It doesn't matter that he can't cover. But hey, listen, their defense is a below average defense. The Pittsburgh Steelers offense is unstoppable. Again, Luther, you're in and off the bandwagon. I told you all season long that they just wasn't throwing to the greatest wide receiver in Steeler history, Chase Claypool. He was open all day. He runs great patterns. You said on the film you've seen, along with the white media that you listen to, he couldn't run the NFL route tree. You was wrong again. Hey, listen, the Steelers don't have a running game.
Was he running the same patterns last week? Yes. Was it pretty different last week? No. He just was getting ball. Those are facts, Jim.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. He was always open. Ben wasn't throwing to him because he was hazing him. But anywho, Ben the king of tea bags. But hey, listen, hey, Luther, our offense is unstoppable. We got a passing game. Big Ben's going to prove that he has another good year left in him. He's going to put up big numbers. It's going to be a very high-scoring game. Cleveland Browns cannot stop our offense because they don't have a very, very good defense other than Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward.
Okay, all right. Claudio. Okay, well, one thing, yeah, I definitely agree. I think their defense is overrated. And then you have 2 cornerbacks down. They're not going to play because of COVID. So they have 2. We have 1 that won't play. So that's going to be a problem for them. I think we could run. I think we can pass on them. We'll see if Ben takes advantage and throws some deep balls this game. I think Claypool, you got to get him the ball at least 6 times a game. Deontay Johnson, cut him back. He don't need his 15. Bring him back and give him 8, because he'll drop maybe 2 or 3 of those 8 anyway. Ebron, I didn't think he was going to play, but somehow he's cleared to play tonight. So offensively, we should be hitting on all cylinders. I'm excited about what could happen. I think we could put up at least 30 points. We put up 24 points with Mason Rudolph back there last week, and I have to give him credit. I'm not a fan of Mason Rudolph, but he played well enough to prove he could be a third-string quarterback in this league last week. But Ben, I think he can light him up. He loves playing Cleveland. His record is like 24-2 against them. Look for us to light up the scoreboard pretty much all day today. All right, Claudio?
I agree with pretty much everything you said. Well, I do agree with everything you said, Luther. Number 1, go deep. I said that all season long. When you go deep, you're opening up the field a little bit, okay? And I know they're not going to run, so forget about that. But when you open up the field, now you can throw some more screens, some shorter passes, and the quicker passes will work. Instead of Juju getting 5 yards or 6 yards, maybe he'll get 10, 11 yards, okay? So I think going deep is paramount for today, and they can do it because, as you said, Cleveland's D-backs are not that great, and plus some of them are down. Two guys who I think are key, really key, and that is Eric Ebron. I would definitely target him 10 to 12 times today, easy. I've been saying that several times this year. He's a big athletic tight end who's kind of like a wide receiver-ish. Use him and let him get out there, and I mean, make him have a huge game. The other guy who I cannot give up on this guy, Smokin Jim. Whenever we do boxing, he always talks about feet and legs, and I'm the same way. We both scout. That's one of the first things we look at are feet and legs. McFarland, I still say that he is big time. And Luther, I'm going to repeat what you said a few weeks ago. If you're not going to run him, give him the ball from a handoff, throw something to him, throw a short pass to him, and get yards after catch. I really believe in McFarland. If they do those three things, go deep, open up the field, target Ebron 11, 12, 13 times. I mean, wear him the hell out and throw some to McFarland. Not just a few running balls because they're not going to run the ball, but throw him some passes so he can use those legs, use that great speed, use that breakaway ability that he has. If they do those things, I'm looking at 30-plus points. I think it's going to be a big-time offensive breakthrough for the Steelers if they do those three things.
All right, and we got Terry French back in here. If we could stop the run game, we'll be fine. He also says, based on then is it clicking in the first quarter, we should incorporate Rudolph and maybe Dobbs in the play plan. I like how you use Dobbs, definitely. Ben won't run those 4th and 1s or anything. Maybe put in Dobbs like Colts do with Jacoby Brissett. They should have put him in for that hell, man.
I like Frank Jackson's score. I like that score, Frank.
Yeah, 34-20. I like that, Frank.
Well, we all know Dobbs is from the South. He knows his place.
Oh, hey. Listen, man. Real quick, we didn't talk about some of the thoughts from last night's playoff games. Any thoughts? The Seattle Rams game or the Buffalo Colts game. Claudio or Jim, who wants to go first? Claudio, what do you think? Any observations that you noticed last week?
I always talk about adjustments and obviously coaching, and I think the Rams did a good job on both sides of the ball with their game plan and the players executing that. I was surprised. I'll be honest with you. I'm a huge. I think Russell Wilson is an unbelievable quarterback. You're never out of the game with Russell Wilson. But the Rams did a hell of a job, and obviously Aaron did his thing, and I was surprised that they won. Buffalo, Indianapolis, Buffalo didn't play their best game, but they won the game. And when you win a game by not playing your best, you know that you're good. Okay. In Indianapolis, Luther, you call it all the time. Rivers is going to put up numbers. He's going to get somebody to the playoffs, but then he hits a wall or his team hits a wall. So I think Buffalo is still – I know we'll probably predict Super Bowls another time. I'm still looking for Buffalo maybe to go to the Super Bowl. Patriots, the Bucks, Washington. The Bucks were not consistent offensively and certainly not defensively. Then Heineke really did a hell of a job as quarterback. I think Washington found their quarterback for next year.
Ooh.
And to repeat, one of my Twitter followers, Dane, he said the same thing on Twitter. Washington found their quarterback next year, maybe. Okay, so but Bucks did good. I've been saying all along. I told Jim last night, Fournette is the key. He's a professional running back, and the Steelers should have picked him up at the beginning of the season. Can you imagine having Fournette who can run the ball and catch the ball in the backfield? Okay, but I really believe in Tampa. I like Arians. I think that they can be very dangerous, and obviously Tom Brady being who he is, and he still has it, and they have a ton of weapons. They have to catch the ball, obviously, and do their thing. But I like the way Tampa beat Washington, and Washington was tough yesterday. And I know Frank doesn't maybe believe in that Heineke kid, I like the way he runs. He's got a nice arm. He's got some confidence. He's got a little attitude to him. The players seem to like him. So, as Terry French just said, I think he's the real deal, and I think he's going to be the quarterback next year. I enjoyed all 3 games.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you see Frank Jackson said Washington still needs a quarterback. And Terry said he's the real deal. Heineke's the real deal. Frank also said Seattle line refused to block for Russell. Man, that offensive line had some issues, but everybody has issues with the Rams, man. He was running for his life, and then he had an emotional receiver down there. I thought we were looking at a bigger version of Antonio Brown yesterday, where he was going off on the sideline. Then they come back.
And Luther, I apologize. That's the other thing. I apologize when you mentioned Antonio Brown. Say what you want about Antonio Brown or whoever else. Tampa Bay has some weapons, both running and receiving. I mean, they have all kind of weapons, and Brady's going to use them. I think the Steelers have a ton of weapons, but they haven't used them all as they should. That's why, again, I think Tampa's really going to be tough to beat. And that's coming from the Italian media.
I like that. Jim, any thoughts on yesterday's games?
Well, like I've been saying for years, that all receivers are divas. The great receivers want the football. I don't want a receiver that don't want the football in current situation. Metcalf showed that. The reason that it's more obvious now than it was back in the day is because your toughest guys on your team were your defense and offensive linemen. And if somebody did that, they grab them by the neck in the locker room and say, if you ever do that again, I'm going to break your neck. And they meant it. So guys get away with that, except for here in Pittsburgh, they get rid of you. Michael Irvin stabbed one of his teammates in the neck when he was getting his hair cut. He wanted the ball all the time. He was on cocaine, cheated on his wife, showed up for the game, but he's in the Hall of Fame. Antonio Brown, they get rid of him, and he was no problem at all here. The problem was Big Ben. But hey, Tampa Bay.
Hold on. Stop.
I'm talking about Tampa Bay now. I'm happy for Tampa Bay. They got the weapons. Antonio Brown is scoring every week. You know what I mean? Brady's doing the right thing. He got him a bonus, and he's letting him sleep with his wife. So everything is good in Tampa Bay. I hope they can beat New Orleans next week and go on and win the Super Bowl.
Jim, let me ask you a question real quick. Luther, if you don't mind. Jim, let me ask you a question real quick. Antonio Brown obviously came late in the season. Do you think his legs are fresher than most defensive backs? Do you think that may add to his effectiveness?
Well, the one thing I can say about Antonio Brown, he never lost his work ethic. Rocky Bleier, for years, in my opinion, was the hardest working Pittsburgh Steeler until Antonio Brown showed up. I've never seen a player in any sport that the coaches got to call him in the offseason and beg him to take a day off. He's a black man that swims every morning. What's the chances of that? But hey, he knows how to take care of his body. It's great that he's living with Brady because nobody takes care of their body better than Brady. But hey, Antonio Brown, like you said, Claudio, he's 32 years old. He got fresh legs, and this is a competitive guy. He's always been a team guy. He's never been a problem anywhere. He was the face of the Pittsburgh Steelers for years. Luther and his friends took a picture with him. Now Luther's backstabbing him.
When we met him and Martavis Bryant, that was pre-Burfict hit. That's before he had his meltdown and started getting mad when he didn't win MVP and stabbing Juju and Ben and Coach Tomlin in the back. Listen, Jim.
Is it true, Luther? Is it true?
News that you said, Jim.
Is it true that Martavis Bryant rolled the best blunt?
He couldn't He couldn't even make it in Oakland to the first game of the season, Smokin', Jim. And then he played one game in New England and fell apart then. The only reason he's in the league right now is because Tampa Bay is the coach of the Buccaneers. You talk about Ben. No, Brady is the coach of the Buccaneers right now. Your so-called great head coach, Bruce Arians, he said Antonio Brown wasn't coming in. Brady proved that he's the coach. He said he is coming in. And once again, Bruce Arians was proved wrong. They needed AB to come in and help that offense. You saw yesterday, he opens it up. Mike Evans is dealing with a knee. You can give him the ball on the ground, in the air. He's pure talent, just like Terry French said, still upset the way it ended, last year, but it goes out next week. New Orleans is going to put it on them. New Orleans always wins the first game in the playoffs, and then they'll fold in the championship game. That's pretty much how it always.
Well, the first game is the day.
First of all,
game.
Yeah,
first of all,
the Bears shouldn't even be in there. So I'm not even counting that game. Put the W in there right now, Jim. You know what I mean?
Luther, you're starting to sound like Ron Cook. You better give up the white media. You're probably eating pumpkin pie all of a sudden, Luther.
No. I don't believe in smoke up
Come on,
media.
Lou.
I believe in facts. Facts are facts. He played one game with New England, didn't play any games with Oakland. He's out there throwing hot dogs at his wife. He's doing all kind of craziness. He was in emotional distress. It looks like maybe he got some help now. Brady, not only one of the greatest quarterbacks, he's also a therapist because it seems like he's fixed AB, right now. Frank Jackson says AB is a cancer. That's been said quite a few times. When he first got to Tampa Bay, there was a lot of problems coming out of there. But Brady, who's the real head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, seems like he's gotten that under control. He's spreading the ball out. So
thanks, Jim Colony.
Hey, I call it the way it is. I call it the way it is. You would have weighed on that, Claudio, before we get to the prediction stage.
Well, I'm sorry, you broke up. Am I doing my huddle up?
Yeah. You better do your huddle up,
Okay.
Claudio.
You got it. I remember 1990. It was my very first playoff game as a head coach, and I'm walking towards my dugout, and I said to myself, and I was 25 years old, I said, just because it has title of playoff game doesn't mean I'm going to coach any different. The bases are still the same. The ball's still going to be thrown the same way. Guys still have to swing. You still have to score runs, defense. Everything's the same. Don't make it bigger than what it is. And that's what I did. We went on to win the championship. There's the ring to prove it. Now, having said that, Steelers are veterans in the playoffs. I don't think they will make a bigger deal out of it than what it is. I think Cleveland may. I think Cleveland is going to say, man, this is the playoffs. We haven't been here in years. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to do. And I think that there's a chance that Cleveland is going to make this a bigger deal than what it is. A lot of coaches, a lot of teams do that. Again, just because it says playoffs or World Series or NBA championship or NFL Super Bowl, the game's still the same. The hoop's still the same. The football's still the same. You still have to run it, catch it, and throw it. Everything's the same. They say you play with more emotion. I always tell my teams to turn it up, no matter when it is, no matter what game it is or whatever. As I said before on the show, if we're up 10, let's score 11. If we're down 10, let's score 11. It doesn't matter. Okay. I think Cleveland will probably put a little extra pressure on themselves. And then without their head coach being there, which I don't understand, he was allowed to be there during practice, but he can't be there during the games, nor can he do anything virtually, I think, which I think is ridiculous. That may hamstring him a little bit because I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's doing a great job. I think he's probably going to get the NFL Coach of the Year. I think the game plan may be the same, but maybe he can be there more for a voice. I don't know, Van Pelt or whoever the guy is taking over as head coach. Maybe they can squash things if things get a little bit crazy. Who knows? Maybe I'm a little biased. I think a head coach is important, but I think that's going to be a loss for them not to have their head coach there. But if they go in there with the right mindset and don't overdo it, then I think they have a shot. If not, I think Steelers are going to have a pretty good day.
Okay. All right. Let's see. We got one more comment in here. Actually, two. All right. Frank Jackson said Browns are just happy to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, that could be the case. Yeah.
Terry French, I agree with Claudio. The Browns will be shocked that they're even in the playoffs. We have experience. Yeah. All right. All right. Smokin' Jim, what you got?
First of all, great job, Claudio. First of all, I got to steal a page from our friend of the show, Russell, Kelly Russell. You deserve credit. Mason Rudolph, a.k.a. David Duke, you deserve credit for how you play. Hey, listen, one of my favorite baseball players of all time was Ty Cobb. I don't care how somebody feels about me off the field. All I do is evaluate how you do on the field. You know what I mean? And hey, listen, this game is for my Polish American brothers. You know what I mean? The Pittsburgh Steelers got rid of Stepnowski. They don't have any Polish players. They won't have any Polish players. I don't know why. Now the National Football League, like Claudio said, is being very unfair to the head coach. Luther, you've never seen Baker Mayfield play under the guidance of Alex Van Pelt. Alex Van Pelt is on a whole nother level. This is a guy that's going to turn him loose. Listen, Kevin Stefanski, he's a conservative type coach, a great coach, coach of the year, but he's conservative. Alex Van Pelt is a young genius, a young Bruce Arians, and he's going to turn him loose 400 or 500 yards passing. You're going to see some things you've never seen before out of Baker Mayfield since he accepted the Heisman Trophy. Listen, this is the type of game it's going to be. Remember, Jacksonville came in here with no quarterback and scored 40-something points on the Pittsburgh Steelers. How about I had tickets to the Super Bowl if the Steelers would have beat San Diego, but no, they did the Super Bowl video shuffle, and now Juju gave them bulletin board material this week, Claudio, when he basically said Cleveland still sucks. So now they're going to play. And thirdly, don't forget the last time Cleveland was in the playoffs, it almost took overtime for the Pittsburgh Steelers to beat them. Baker Mayfield's coming in here, and he's going to prove to everybody he's better than that corny brother, Russell Wilson.
How can you hate one of the baddest quarterbacks in the game, Smokin' Jim? Come on, man.
He's a cornball. He's a cornball.
All right, let's see. Let's jump back in here. We got a couple comments. Frank Jackson, Browns can't even keep their coaching staff on the field. Baker will throw at least 2 picks. Who else is in here? Also, Juju is still immature. That's definitely the case. But I think a lot of things are blown out of proportion. Juju went from being one of the most popular players to every week. It's a TikTok video. It's bulletin board material. Had 100 catches, but still didn't get anywhere near 1,000 yards. But we have to give credit. This is the first Steelers team in history to have 3 players over 800 yards. We're talking Chase Claypool, Juju, and Deontay Johnson. The receiving core can really be explosive. I look for them to do major, major stuff during this playoff run. I think it starts today. Browns have some injuries in the defensive backfield. Look for them to get busy. Chase Claypool will continue. I see at least 1 touchdown for him, maybe a touchdown for each of these guys. They're putting up at least 35 points. Ben is well rested. Sometimes he doesn't come back great when he's well rested, but I think the Browns, he loves Browns. He could come back off 1-day rest, COVID, anything, and would still get busy on the Browns. You need to take off that orange. Not only is it an ugly color, Smokin' Jim, but they never win. Who's wearing Browns colors? Baker Mayfield. Only thing good about him is his agent because he has more commercials than any average NFL player in the league. Not top 5, not top 10, maybe top 15 quarterback. Very overrated, and we're going to see that now. Very limited. If he has no running game, he can't beat you, and he proved it 2 weeks ago. He shut down the running game. He's absolutely completely finished. Smokin' Jim. All right, any thoughts as we get ready to get out of here? Let's get the predictions going. And any thoughts on these games? Real quick, I wanted to ask you, what do you all think about the Titans-Ravens game? I think the Ravens were playing well, but they struggled trying to tackle that Derrick Henry. They're avoiding that guy. He runs for about 170 yards every game. But I look for Lamar Jackson to really show off this game. Tennessee has had his number the last 2 years, but I'm looking for him to get real busy. I had the Ravens winning that game. In a little bit of a shootout, I'm calling 34-30. I think Lamar Jackson in that running game put on a show against Tennessee. Claudio?
Not a fan of Tannehill, fan of Henry. I think Ravens win that game.
Okay. Terry French has it 27-17. All right. Smokin' Jim, any thoughts on that Ravens game?
Hey, two great defenses, 2 great running games. You got the NFL, in my opinion, co-player of the year, 2,000 yards. Tannehill's the better quarterback in this game. Tennessee wins it.
Better quarter. Come on, Jim. That's terrible. All right. Let's go. So guys, what do you think? Let's get our predictions in as we get ready to wrap up. Jim, you're up. What do you have the score?
Well, Shaking Baker Mayfield already broke some of Otto Graham's records. The NFL all-time playoff record is in 1943, Sid Luckman threw 7 touchdown passes. So Baker Mayfield, there's a goal, baby. I wouldn't rule it out. I think it's going to be Cleveland Brown. I think it'll be an overtime game. Cleveland Browns 42, Pittsburgh Steelers 35.
You and all these points, Smokin, Jim. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game on the Steelers.
What do I have, Claudio?
You always got the over. You always have the over, Jim. Hey,
always have the over.
I think the Steelers offense will continue. They put up 22 points with Mason Rudolph last week. I think with him back, I look for them to go for 30 this week. Villanueva continues to struggle at that tackle position, but fortunately for him, Myles Garrett is dealing with some injuries on that side, so they'll be able to help him out. I got the Steelers 30-24. I definitely think we're going to win. We may struggle with Hayden not being at the other corner spot earlier in the game, but once we get that running game under control, I think we'll be all right. All right, let's see. We got Johnny says 27-20 Steelers. All right, we got Tiana. All right, Lady T is in the house. All right, she has Steelers 24-20. All right, there we go. Guys, any final thoughts, Claudio?
I'm thinking Steelers are going to start off hot, like they usually. They only play half a game. Okay, either it's the first half or the second half. Then I think they're going to start off hot, then fade in the second half, which will give Cleveland a chance to make a big comeback. I still like the Steelers to win, as Frank Jackson had it, 30-24. But again, I think the Steelers will start off hot, fade. Cleveland will maybe look bad in the beginning, finish strong, but I got Pittsburgh 30-24.
Okay. All right. Well, that's our show, fellas, man. I want to thank you guys as always. I want to thank everybody who commented, Tionda, Johnny, Terry, Frank Jackson. That's our game. Hopefully next week we'll be here with our second playoff game against probably Buffalo if we win. So, hey, for Smokin, Jim, Luther Dupree, Claudio, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll check you out next week. Peace.